it's time for the Daily Detangler. All right, hey, good morning. Sorry, the Detangler is a little bit late today. I was up late last night and a lot of great stuff going on, especially with the tedious work process. And it's been really great to see everybody's responses, and I'm learning a lot in the process, but also trying to contribute slide by slide. And there's just amazing work going on there, and I'm excited about it. One of the things that Catalyst asked me to do was to focus more on specific tangles in the detangler, and that's what I'll be doing here today. Also building out and trying to create a view that pulls together and synthesizes work that's been going on, and also leveraging what we have. One of the things that I'm excited about is what I created here by doing, and I didn't know what the detangler was going to be. This was kind of a long process for me to figure out what to do. So I'm excited to share with you what I built here in the moment in responding to the situation, actually getting tangled myself on what to do, and then sharing some of the knots. So first, let's start with Catalyst. He's a demanding guy. So he got, on my weekend in the mountains, and I'm watching all these things come in, and cool part. I wanted to actually do it, but I knew I couldn't do it because it was an anniversary, and I'm like, so I started jumping in on Monday, and I already felt like I was behind, and his expectations are high. And then he's like, well, I sent this thing on Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning's detangler didn't have anything. And I'm like, well, that's because you sent it at 7:30 at night on Tuesday, and I started working on the detangler 11 hours later, and I slept in between. I didn't even review. Right, so the expectations for responding and are high. He's a customer, and customer expectations are high. And more C slides, optimize my time, respond faster, be an expert, do the right things and do those things right. Stratacution, that's what stratacution is. So what do I do? Right. And how do I keep my emotions and my energy in check, to not get overwhelmed, to not panic, and to embrace this idea that I can provide input, stay in the moment, and do the best I can, and also better late than never. Right. So that's a response that I've learned in the VUCA world. This is just reality, and I like to say Catalyst is like a weather pattern. You can't contain it. You can only hope to harness him. And sometimes it's unpredictable, and sometimes it's something that is a bit inconvenient or whatever. And I didn't expect to have this huge volume of work this week. I didn't really know that this was coming, and so I got VUCA'd, and Catalyst VUCA'd me. Right. So that's part of being customer centric too. So I'm going to borrow some of the approach that Catalyst has used in the past to frame out kind of what my challenges are and where I'm getting tangled and responding to VUCA, snapping into the tedious work because I want to do that. And then also what I've had to really focus on letting go of. So on the left side is kind of my bias as an individual focus. My bias is impact what I choose to do. And this team has really forced me right outside of my comfort zone. And the expectation is team focus. I'm trying to get plugged into a high performing team, trying to be more relevant to the high performing team. I'm trying to meet the team expectations and not let everybody down, at the same time be a good teammate and there's not enough hours in the day, right? But this idea of integrated value creation, that expectation of, hey, we're tackling something that's never been tackled before. We're tackling complexity and uncertainty, and we're grounded in a customer-centric reality that even our customers don't understand. And we're going to use scientific principles, and we're going to, do 20 steps of tedious work in 24 hours, right? Stuff like that. So that creates a gap. If I'm in my left side by myself, I'm happy. And if I'm in the right side, I'm happy. And then this gap in the middle can create tangles. And I've learned the process of, staying in tune with the energy and staying in tune with my own emotions to not get frustrated, checked out, anxious, and overly emotive, right? So I don't want that gap to happen in the middle. So borrowing the OmniTrack slide, I repurposed it, and I've got my individual results on the left, but this environment that we're creating, for me to plug into is really critical. And on the left is me, and I got my selfie going on, and I'm doing pretty good all by myself, and my biases are kicking in, and I have this self-fulfilling prophecy. And then on the right side, this expectation of this outcome, this target we're going to hit, and it's about the team and catalyst direction and being customer centric. And what do I do, and how do I do it? That's the challenge I have. What do I do now? How do I go about it? And that's where my tangles come from. And that those tangles can be overwhelming. And I've really worked hard to try to inventory these. And I interviewed all the team, and I created some thoughts around some knots, and I brought together the knots, and I showed Catalyst, and he liked the knots for selling. And then when I interviewed all the team, like architect and activator, and actually I interviewed capability a long time ago at the beginning of the year, and we talked about these knots and tangles, and I also talked to clarity. So what are these, and what is this, what is the source of it? So one of the things I wanted to do is lean into what we've done in the past, and where have I had breakthrough in my own tangles. And it's usually in this from what to what picture of me letting go of my individual focus and snapping into the team, and an awareness that the environment we're creating is a team-based environment, and also that environment really is required for us to drive change. And the environment we're creating, for me to plug into it, I have to let go of my biases, and I have to stop thinking about what I want to do and what I think, and more about what does the team need, and what does the team require, and how do I be a good teammate, and how do I serve others. So an example of where we did this was in the hang glider exercise, where we focused on outcomes. We brought together different perspectives and motivations and mechanics, and we had that discussion about jumping off of the cliff, and what that looks like to hang glide, and where does change happen, and how does change happen. And we had the discussion about the elephant on the bridge, and there's just a lot of change. And then with the focus on learning by doing, not only does change happen every day, but so does learning. And so that hang glider episode really was, that exercise we did really was the start of this idea of, how do I remove in my individual self and get plugged into? How do I unleash and unplug, right? That's this idea of that, where the tangler was kind of solidified for me. But there's a lot to figure out in that view, and I got tangled. Right. So what are those tangles, and what do they look like in change? And then we have our awesome team. Everybody's a superhero. How do I tap into the strengths of everybody's superpowers? There's a lot of interconnection here. Everybody has a role to play. And, how do I tap into that, and how do I create together? And in that, I got tangled. So what are those tangles, right? So what are the tangles that I experience in change, and what are the tangles I experience in unleashing the team, and what are the tangles in, stratocution? Am I doing the right things, and am I doing those things right? And I used to talk about, and I still kind of talk about, this idea of being stuck in the middle. So what are those tangles that hold me on the change bridge? And there's, patterns that develop. And then in episode 5, or part 5 of the, getting on the chord or doing the tedious work, was this architecture from, Catalyst, about encode, transmit, and decode. And on the right hand side is detangling, right? Detangle. And this discussion him and I have been having on this right side model, using, again, our scientific method of sight, of the view that communication happens. Communication is a process. There's the communication model, encode, transmit, decode. Detangling is this idea of receiving a message and information, right? And knowing what to do with it, and decoding it, and then sending back. So what I wanted to do was lean on that part 5, and say, okay, what have I been receiving, right? So I just shared some synthesis of key reception information packets that I've received, including this architecture. So how would I go about decoding all that, right? And I could spend 3 hours walking through all of the setup around these tangles, but my goal of the front end up here was just to relate, and maybe you can see some of yourself in some of these situations or inputs as well. But if you've ever received information from Catalyst, or an expectation, stated expectation, or an ask, and not quite sure what to do about it, in the 2B, reception mode, how have you decoded it and then sent back? And decoding that message and then providing something back is, backward bike. So to me, the backward bike piece is critical to understanding this, because the backward bike unlocks the decipher code of decoding. So bringing in the backward bike view, I've spent a lot of time on backward bike, and the idea that stone soup helps me send something back, right? So if I were to write this up and say, look, we have a lot of information that comes, and so the information piece of this, and I listed out things like our change, our learning by doing, the content we've had on the tedious work, the idea that there's the hang glider episode, the fact that we're in VUCA, Catalyst is a weather pattern, right? All of these information, these inputs that create a gap between what to do and how to do it for me, right? So that's what that inventory was, and synthesizing that. So what is the decoding? And to me, it's very much related to backward bike. And then what am I sending back? And what I've been sending back, what are those kind of patterns? I call them plays, or patterns that I send back. For example, Catalyst pointed out that, hey, we're not in C slide mode right now. Okay, well, that was good to know. Right? Like, I don't know. I didn't make the switch. So I'm sending C slides back. No, we're not doing that right now this week. Oh, okay. We're gonna, but what are we building? Well, we're building stuff for Friday's meeting. Isn't that, how? And I'm not supposed to be building how stuff. What am I sending back? And I got tangled, right? So anyway, that's an example. I could go on and on. So these are just some examples I'm trying to share in order to relate to this. So what I did then in the learn by doing mode, and again, I didn't know what I was building. to do this today. I was like, how do I do this? And what am I gonna share? I said, well, first of all, I can get rid of my pen. Clear all drawings. Oh, okay. So it's not letting me clear my drawings. Okay, there we go. Nope. Now let me stop sharing. And then let me share back. Okay, sorry about that. I had a technical glitch. I don't know what's going on. Let me share back my screen. So back, here we go. I must have been using the PowerPoint annotation instead of Zoom. Okay, so what I did was based on today is say, well, the act of the backward bike decoding what's happening. Well, in the backward bike, it's all about knowledge does not equal understanding. So, and then in the learning by doing work, we were talking about what do we need to understand in order to act. So that's to me, a key component here is what do I understand so that I can act? What do I understand so that I can act? That's a key, you know.
And oftentimes we don't have a label.
Oh my gosh.
As you can see here, I put together this
Hang
picture.
I hit a button and Catalyst started talking. So I have too many windows open. So on this view, what is understanding and what does it mean to act? And then what is the least amount of understanding that I need in order to act? And that's backward bike, but I get tangled in that. So that's another source of tangles, and they're all what are they related to and how are they related? So when I look at this, there's doing the right things, and do I understand what to do and why we're doing it? Like that's a whole challenge in and of itself. And you know, this one, what we're doing and why we're doing it, Catalyst pointed out that this is one of my kryptonites is what are we doing next, you know? And it has to do with what are we doing and why we're doing it and how do I do the right things and do I understand what we're doing next? Like this week, I didn't know what we were doing until, you know, I'm on the weekend and I start getting all these emails. So, you know, that's on me and I'm not tuned in. I got a blind spot there and I get tangled on what to do about it. Right. So that's part of this. And then when I talk about acting is when do I do it and how do I do it? Am I doing things right when I take action? And what are the right things for our team? And what does that even look like? So there's tangles around that too. And so when I look at doing the right things, doing those things right, what am I doing? Why are we doing it? And when do I do it? And how do I do it? I get tangled. And this decoding of these things is it was paralyzing, and it was because, you know, on this equation, right, if I don't know what this is and I'm taking the wrong action, you know, anything divided by 0 isn't going to get me there, right? So that's part of the challenge. And then the more I understand what those right things are, the more I have a gap. So if this is, let's say I need to do something to 100 here, and I feel like I'm a 2, there's a gap here. So how do I close that gap? So there's a lot that happens in my brain that tangles me up in how to execute this or to plug into the team, and I get tangled. So what are those, you know, what does that look like for other people, right? Does this relate to maybe how you think about it? And does it relate to what your challenges are? So in doing this work and in hearing the feedback from all of you over the last few months around what are some of the knots that you have or the tangles that you have? And then when Catalyst put out yesterday in part 5, this ask of, hey, I need these knots defined. And he showed these knots. And so what are those knots and what do they look like? And when I lay out the work I've done around it, these are some of the knots. These are the knots that I have over and over again. I don't know why you're mentioning that. I don't have access. I don't know what we're doing right now. Is this one? I don't know if what I did was helpful or good. I don't know how to leverage others on the team. Sometimes I feel like my stuff is it's interesting that my detangler come out every day, so I'm asking everybody to listen to those. Sometimes they're long, and then I feel like I don't know how to ask for help. So this is on me though, but this is my tangle. I don't know if I did what I needed to do right. That's a tangle. I don't know if what I need to do next. I get tangled up on that. I have stinking thinkings on what I can do and what I can overcome. I don't think I can do it, or I didn't get the input I needed. I didn't get the help I need, and I don't have time, and I don't want to put myself out there in a way that is going to put me at risk. I don't have time to do it, and it's too risky. So these are tangles that have repeatedly come up in my own talk track. And to untangle myself, what I did was I built those knots. And I don't know if you've seen the knots, but they looked like this. And I had several of them listed. And I said, well, not, and it was from Stone Soup, not my problem, not going to put myself out there. I'm not seeing how this works. I'm not open to that. But there's also other tangles that I have, like I'm not able to do it. I'm not doing it right. I'm not getting the help I need. I'm not able to tap into the team and get a response. These are things that can create barriers for me in how I engage the team. If I don't think it's my problem, or if I'm not going to put myself out there, if I'm going to say, hey, I don't get the help I need from Catalyst, or I'm not sure what we're doing and how this works, or I'm just not open to that, and I'm not malleable, or I don't think I can do it, or I focused on the wrong, stinking thinking I'm on the wrong thing, or I kind of, say the team isn't engaging with me and it's on them, those are barriers to my ability to execute, my ability to perform, and those are tangles. So when I did this inventory, I have a lot of work on this, and I summarized them into here. I said, well, how do I stratacute? My tangle is in the middle, and then living in the middle and being in the middle and doing strategy and tactics. I wonder if what Catalyst put out in part 5, how that looks to these tangles that I've been working on, and I started inventorying these, and the animation's messed up. I brought bringing this in all the way. How do I know I'm doing the right thing? Do I have empathy? Do I understand the environment and how to leverage the environment and the VUCA conditions? Do I know where to get support and the type of support I'm getting? And do I recognize the support is helping me? And do I know what progress looks like? In other words, do I know what to do? And then from a how to do it part, do I know how to team, and do I know how to use my skills in a new way, and what it means to be creative here, and what it means to contribute here? And for example, that whole tangle that I have on this is not about doing, it's about serving, right? So am I able to serve instead of do? Am I able to be creative in my detangler role versus be creative and shit on people and give them ideas and brainstorm? There's a whole bunch of tangles underneath these, and inventorying out is what I've been doing, and how do I group these, and what does it look like to see these tangles, and what does it sound like? So these are knots that I have. It's the not my problem, the not putting myself out there, not getting the help I need, not seeing how this works. I'm not able to do that. I'm not open to that. I'm not doing it right. I'm not getting a response that I need, that I expect, right? And maybe there's an expectation challenge. So these are knots that get in my way of being on the high performing team. And this is what they sound like, and this is the knots that I have. So how do I untangle these things, right? So this is my challenge. Is this is a lot of negative, right? It's kind of overwhelming to publish out my brain like this, uh, and say, geez, man, I'm a wreck. What is my problem with this, and why am I so knotted? But then I realize there's a lot of conditions, a lot of variables that have led to that. And what does it look like? And then also, what's the upside of untying my tangles? I mean, if I can detangle myself, I can be faster. If I can detangle myself, I can be more flexible. I can elevate my perspective and have more empathy and take more accountability and be more interconnected. There's a huge upside to untying my tangles. So how do I do that, right? And what does that look like? So what I did was, I didn't want to just end the detangler, and kind of hesitant to show this next slide because it's a lot of words, but I spent some time on trying to understand what these knots might be, right? So hang on, let me pull up this slide. Okay, here we go. I had to give myself a little pep talk on this one because I'm going to share my share my inner demons on a slide. So how do I go from individual results to team outcomes, right, and get plugged into a high performing team, right? So it's a journey, and I've had trouble, and one of the main issues I've had is, do I recognize what's happening next? I mean, it even happened this week. So it's like, what does it sound like? What are the knots? I'm not seeing how this is working, and I feel like I'm not doing it right. So I'm tangled on, what does it mean to help create progress, and what does it mean to contribute? I get tangled on those, and I've given these some numbers here. And then, another thing that prevents me on the journey is not sharing. I'm not open to that, not able to do that. I'm not able to tap into what it means to be creative, and I'm not able to apply my skills in a different way. So I don't share, and that's a major tangle. Is these tangles create these knots, I'm not able to recognize, and I'm not able to share, that prevent me from getting plugged in. And then, I'm not aligned to fully serving Catalyst and the team. So I'm not able to get the help that I need, I feel like, and then I'm not able to respond in the right way. And these are tangles that come up and become knotted because I'm not able to serve. And, it gets me anxious, and, it gets me bent out of shape, and sucks my energy out. So it's a major knot, this one is, because what does it mean to do that on a high performing team? And then, do I empathize, with others, with Catalyst, with the idea that learning by doing is required, and putting myself out there, like what I'm doing here, is a way to move things forward. And do I have the empathy for others to try to when I do share, is it not to teach them, but to be more relatable, to be more in tune with where others are. So these are eight tangles. So what I did was I said, well, these look like and feel like they're aligned to the mindset shifts. One, and then two, there's a bit of a um, you know, do these things, don't do these, don't do these other things. So what I did was I wrote out, what do I focus on, what not to do, kind of a keep doing this, stop doing that, and start focusing on these things. So I inventoried these out, and then I mapped it to the mindset shifts. And to me, this progress one is interesting. So I'm adding on there because there's only 7 mindset shifts, but activating action is about contribution. Visualize as valuable is about creativity. Remember my job, my role, in using my skills in a new way. Slow down to speed up, bringing people along, being curious and engaging the support structure with curiosity. And then the landscape layers, what's our landscape layers here on the team, but also in our clients that Catalyst is working in. And then do I have empathy for our executives? So this was what I put together. And actually, I'm thinking now that I'm looking at this, these might be knots as and the 4 main knots, not recognizing, not sharing, not serving, not empathizing. Maybe these are the knots up here. And then these are the tangles that lead to those knots, so these are the tangles, and the more tangled up, the tighter the knot. Maybe that's, I don't know. Anyway, so that, what is a tangle then, right? What is a tangle? And a tangle is, when you look at this, a tangle is a cognitive barrier that then prevents me from recognizing what's happening, sharing observations and ideas, serving the team, and empathizing with Catalyst. These tangles create limiters to my success on a high performing team. And the longer and the more I pull these tangles, the more they turn into knots. So that is me showing my tangles and trying to detangle myself in a detangler based on what Catalyst shared. And I hope this was helpful to, I don't know, I'd love your feedback on it, because to me, I'm trying to connect the dots here, right? Like I'm trying to have courage to put my tangles out, and I'm trying to connect the dots on everything to create a structure that publishes my tangles out. And getting that out, I hope will help others have empathy for their own tangles and see if these tangles relate. So I appreciate the time and look forward to tomorrow, and excited about where we're heading. And I'm going to go respond to another video. Have a good day. See ya.